And then this is Baba Haridas from Mount Madonna, also another important teacher. When I found Mount Madonna, it was like the school, very similar to the school that I went in India in the early 70s, where they were training yoga teachers to teach yoga in India. And then this, here is my teacher from Kaivalya Dhamma Yoga School. And in the early 70s, I studied there for a whole year. And that's him sitting there and me, believe it or not, many years ago. It totally changed my life. It just, I was a nerdy person trying to understand everything by figuring things out. And when I arrived there, he said, "Why do you come all this long way?" And I said, "Well, I want to study the scriptures and understand, what are we doing here?" And he only said one sentence that totally just stayed with me for the rest of my life. "Can you be kind when your toe hurts?" And I went, I'm coming here to learn the concept. And he was saying, it has to be an embodied process. It can't just be an intellectual process. And he was also saying, can you be kind when your toe hurts? So he was implying, that's what, as I saw it in that sentence, that the work was not only for me to somehow understand, but it was all about how was I going to be relating to other people. So it's very short sentence, but very poignant. And it informed all my practice during that year there. I learned to embody the practices and notice the difference that it makes when you embody the practices of breathing and different practices we did of fasting and meditation. And it was from early morning to evening and sometimes through the night also with meditations. And it went beyond what is just pure words, simple words and discussing about something. And that's what we are doing also in our meditation, volunteering, and positive neuroplasticity. And in this workshop here, that we don't only learn about neuroplasticity, and we are going to discuss it briefly now at the beginning, but we are putting ourselves in situations that themselves trigger stimulus to be sometimes in ambiguous situations or totally open and present to seeing not only what's happening with us, but cultivating that inner grounding so that we can be open and welcoming to the person, a younger person with whom we are volunteering. And I'm excited that you are opening yourself to all this. And that's embodied positive neuroplasticity, because partly is through the body, through the different processes. We are going to be doing some release points, some breaths, some contemplative movements. And then partly is also through inner reflection and a continuous work with ourselves. So there are many studies, scientific studies, journals, and all that, that explain that there is a possibility of developing new habits. So that with reference to changing our brain and our nervous system, and that it usually takes 8 weeks to start actually having these physical changes in the brain and in the nervous system. 8 weeks of 35 minutes of meditation. And so the invitation is to practice together, but I know that most people don't have 35 minutes as a chunk to dedicate, or they also don't feel called to sit for 35 minutes. And the interesting thing is that meditation and contemplation doesn't necessarily need to be sitting. I mean, those of you that have meditation practices, wonderful. And those of you who are starting or who want to try something else, what I would suggest with these 8 weeks of developing a habit, of changing our brain and our nervous system towards greater peace, that maybe you can dedicate 15 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night to some of these practices that we're going to be doing today and during the 8 weeks. So it's the regularity. Babaji always used to say the secret is regular sadhana, regular practice. So it's your commitment. You realize that you have this amazing body, mind, spirit that has enormous potential for transformation, for healing. And then you commit to everyday practice so that you are helping your brain, you're befriending your nervous system, helping your brain to veer to the positive, because we have, unfortunately, developed through the years, all of us, a 5-to-1 tendency to the negative. And that was before the pandemic. So the pandemic has pushed people even more to the edge. But we can, I mean, once we know that, we can work, and then we know that what we think, what we feel, and what we act, what we do, has an important effect in our nervous system and in our brain. We can then more consciously cultivate positive neuroplasticity. So I want to make a difference between negative neuroplasticity and positive neuroplasticity, and also talk a little bit about what's positive neuroplasticity and the effects that the negative neuroplasticity has on us, and the effects that the positive one can have, and give you also some tools for practice. So let me just move this a little bit. So what is neuroplasticity, right? You may have heard the term here and there, but what is it? Okay, so if we go to the term, neuro means nervous system, brain. Plasticity means malleability. It means that the brain, in fact, changes. Parts of the brain change. They become smaller or bigger, stronger or weaker. And their functioning also is affected and changes according to what we think, we feel, and we act. We saw some of that in the article on learning to learn, neurobiology and cognitive science as basis of autonomous learning. And we were seeing that if we can bring our attention to what processes are happening in our ways of thinking and feeling, and our intention of committing to work with ourselves every time that we feel triggered, or that we feel disappointed, or we have self-doubt, or maybe anger or fear. So many things trigger us, and that's perfectly fine. It's part of the package of life. Life brings us wonderful things, wonderful experience, and then it also brings us difficult ones: physical pain, losing a loved one, going through a divorce, so many things, ecological grief, some political things, you name it. I mean, every time there is something that can throw us out of balance, and that's okay. We are not trying to repress emotions, which is what we do sometimes, or ignore them, which we do some other times, or resist them and fight them, which we also do sometimes. We just want to notice what arises, and notice what's being triggered and what's being starting to have a life of its own, that the negative thoughts and the negative emotions kind of keep fueling each other, and then we are in a rut, and we just don't seem to be able to come out of it. And so how can we realize, okay, I'm going into this way that it has negative consequences of not letting me sleep so well, or upsetting my digestion, or rising my blood pressure, or pushing me towards maybe depression or anger, whatever it is. And I want to try to see if I can change this. So first your brain will understand, you come to a conclusion, I want to change this. But the brain cannot operate on that. It will ask you, how? Help me. How do I do it? Yes, we are understanding that it would be better to do positive neuroplasticity than negative neuroplasticity, but how? So the negative neuroplasticity is this negative reactivity that we have, and what it does, because neurons that fire together bind together, it creates grooves in our brain and our nervous system that make us have a tendency to repeat that, even if we have decided that we don't want it. We just kind of go towards that, even if we know that it's painful. It's so much ingrained in the body, in the nervous system, that we just kind of keep repeating it. And that's because there is neuroplasticity, right? That's negative neuroplasticity. We are influencing the structure of the brain and the functioning of the brain with something so subtle, like it's a thought or an emotion. So these are amazing discoveries, that put the responsibility back to us. It's not that we are predetermined by our genes. It's not that we are predetermined or determined by the outer circumstances. Yes, the outer circumstances can be difficult, but it is always within our power to keep working with the inner space to see how we respond to it. We usually tend to react, and then how to cultivate response in the face of fear or physical pain or a terminal disease or so many things that are part of the package of life. So why are we here? Right? I imagine sometimes you may have asked yourself, why was I born? And some people that are negative, they say, just to die. And it's a relatively short journey, but we came here to learn. And we learn often when we are not comfortable. Because if we are very comfortable, we tend just to more or less go along. But when we are uncomfortable, there is first the resistance, because we don't like what is being handled to us. And then we have to see, okay, am I going to get stuck here? Am I going to be, just like the button for red alert? Is it, stuck and now I'm always in red alert? Many years ago in our journey, evolutionary journey, the red alert was important because it pointed that there was a real danger and we needed to run away from it or hide or something to preserve our existence. But right now we are in 24/7 often a state of red alert, different intensities, but we don't seem to find moments to relax, and we need to find how to work with our nervous system to give it that moment of rest so that it knows it can go there. Little by little is developing a different habit. We need to little by little experience moments of peace, let the nervous system know that that's possible within us. Through long exhalations, for example, trigger the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that has a response to rest and relax, instead of the sympathetic, which is not very simpatico, and it just takes us to fight, flight. And so we are going to do those practices together, but I just wanted for you to remember two key sentences. One is, what you cultivate grows. What you practice grows. And then you have to look back, what have I been practicing today? Or what I have been practicing this week? Or what have I been practicing with reference to this challenge? Where are my thoughts going? And how are they feeding the loop of the negative emotions usually? Because that's our bias, 5 to 1, so more possible that. And then what is growing within me when I'm in this alert of, I think the world's going to collapse, I better do this, I better do that, I better do whatever. And you are not in the present moment, working with the present moment, with your relationships, your body, everything. So one of the sentences is, what you practice grows, and watch what is that you're growing. Are you going towards negative neuroplasticity, or are you practicing positive? And if not, now we're going to see how to practice positive. And the other one is, what you resist persists. And these are not sentences that I invented. You probably have heard it also in other talks by me or by other people. But I love that they are just so short and so to the point. What you resist persists. And it's really tragic because, sometimes we are resisting with fear, and so we are closing ourselves up because of the fear, or we are fighting or getting defensive, whatever, because of the fear, but it's not helping the situation. So the third phrase or sentence that can help with self-inquiry and realizing is this helping the situation? Is the way I'm responding helping the situation? For example, with climate grief, these intense heat waves, and then thinking about what we are doing to the planet and what's going to happen with the next generations. And it does create grief in us, and that's totally natural. And then if we just allow all that to keep feeding on itself, then we get very depressed. And then what are we doing to change anything? So to be more available to ourselves and to take clear action and to be more available to other people, we need to find ways to stop, pause at the time when we are being triggered towards the negative, and realize that, okay, this is not helping. It's not even helping from the point of view of fear or anything. I'm not really becoming more protected. I'm just feeding more fear and maybe accumulating more sayings and having all of, I don't know, all kinds of things. The main thing is to work with I'm not saying don't do that. Do that too if you like, and that's great. But remember that the most important thing is to work with the inner space. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so that's positive neuroplasticity, negative neuroplasticity, the fact that what we think, feel, and do change our brain. There is a beautiful article, I very much recommend it to all of you. It's called Can Thoughts and Actions Change Our Brain? It's really an NPR program with Ira Flatto and Sharon Bigley. Sharon Bigley being the scientist correspondent for the Washington Post, and Ira Flatto has the program Science in the Nation, or Friday Science, or something like that. It's a program in NPR. And they are talking, so you can hear the program as an audio, or you can also find the transcript under. And it's very interesting. They are talking about all these different findings that are so amazing, because they show that what we pay attention to and what we intend have physical results, which is mind-blowing, really, that something so subtle that could be our thoughts or an intention actually can change the brain, can make the amygdala smaller. The amygdala is a part in the brain that has this size of an almond, and it's deep in the brain, and it has to do with emotions. And when we are very excited and overwhelmed, and any kind of emotions that are just like a wild horse running with us on top, the amygdala grows. Its size actually grows. And so its function, which is to alert us, also grows. So we are even more, galloping on that growing amygdala. If we can calm down, the amygdala size comes down to its natural size. The other effect is that when we are very upset with emotions, the frontal cortex here, prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that helps us to have clear decisions, shrinks. And so we have the galloping amygdala and no reins, not a good combination. So we want to work through our body to calm our mind. And another very important discovery, this comes from the polyvagal theory and all the studies about the vagus nerve. A lot of work from Dr. Stephen Porges, who was the creator of the polyvagal theory, and the many applications in the treatment of trauma and different kinds of psychological treatments too. What the discovery is that, for example, with the vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve, biggest nerve that you have from the base of the brain to the base of your spine and goes all along the column, and it has ramifications to the main organs, vital organs of the heart and the lungs, and also in the abdomen. It informs the digestive organs. That nerve, which connects the rest of the body with the brain, and which has to do with the decisions we take, the way we experience life, 80% of the information comes from down up. So it comes from our guts and it comes from our heart. That's transmitted to the brain, and the brain only 20% participates really on the final saying of the decision. So if the rest of the body is transmitting, I'm at unease, I'm in fear, I'm in, whatever, the brain doesn't start saying, well, there is really no problem, or you're not really in danger, or no, the brain says, oh, alert, let me send you something so that you can run away. So we need to work with the whole body to calm the mind. The mind is not a noun, but a verb. It's minding, and it happens through the body. So this is the practices that we're going to learn here, which were developed over thousands of years in India and in China, and are part of classical yoga and of Taoist Qigong, medical Qigong, are connected to the traditional Chinese medicine, and work with the body to the mind, and then with the mind to the body. Like Dan Siegel, another expert, Dr. Dan Siegel, another expert on questions of neuroplasticity, he says the mind changes the brain. So we bring our attention and intention and calm our emotions, and then the brain also comes down, and then the brain changes the mind, because then the brain, when it perceives states of calm, sends more hormones of calming down, like serotonin and different hormones, to increase the calmness. So it's always this Meobius strip, this 8 of the body informing the rest of the body, informing the brain being like a mirror that reflects what's happening with the rest of the body. And then from calming the body, not with Prozac, but with breath and with self-inquiry, with self-acceptance, compassion, some movements that we're going to be doing, some stretching movements, some release points. Then we calm the body and it calms the mind, and the mind again keeps committing us and helping us to keep working in developing our inner resources. Okay, I think I have talked a lot, so I think we need to do some practices now. I know some of you who have perhaps heard this in different ways are going, okay, are we going to have some practices today or not? Just waiting patiently. Okay, so I'm going to start with the very basics in this first of the 8 weeks, this first class of the 8 weeks, so that we start bringing some practice to home, to our daily life, and we use them. I think the interesting part, maybe for those of you that have been already coming on Saturdays or to Mama Donna workshops, is that now I'm explaining a little bit more of the neuroscience, so that can help you also with some of the practices as you keep bringing your attention to forwarding the attention. For example, when we do the movements, we are going to be doing the movement, and the attention usually just go on to doing the movement, but I'm going to invite you to pay attention to the stillness within the movement. So we are doing the movement, and on the one hand, we are perhaps noticing the arms extending and whatever it is that we are going to be doing. And on the other hand, in your own practices of meditation, in the breathing, in your daily life, as you do, see if you can once in a while foreground stillness. So you are going, it's easier when we are doing contemplative practices, because we are already bringing the attention to the sensations in the body, and then the body cannot at the same time deeply pay attention to the breath and go to the past and the future and all of these other things. It has to decide, do I keep going there, or do I stay here? So we start, okay, like a puppy, okay, just for this breath, let's sit and this breath, and so you go 1, 2, 3, it's gone. Okay, let's come again, just for this breath, this inhalation, this exhalation. And little by little, you train your attention and intention to stay there. And that then influence your brain and your minding and everything. Okay, so let's start with the very basic, and we'll keep building on it. I invite you to do the practices together with me and not necessarily take notes. I'm going to edit this, and you can also see it. And I can send you even this afternoon some of the practices, so that you don't need to take notes when we are practicing, because if you don't practice it, you will not really know. You will know about it, but you will not know it inside through experiencing, right? It's the same that we are talking about neuroplasticity. You can understand me, oh yeah, the amygdala grows, oh the prefrontal cortex shrinks, but it's until you and if I'm in peace, then the whole body starts to function better. It's not until you actually do the practice with me, with us in this community, and keep repeating the practice, that you will then know it instead of knowing about it. Okay, so let's try to see what we can do. So how can we interrupt this negative reactivity that we know we have? How can we start creating this other highway of experiences, that neurons that fire together bind together? How can we create those experiences of inner peace? Especially if we remember it. I mean, we'll practice at different moments. Here we are in a safe space you have carved for yourself, a time you have carved for yourself. Already your body is going to become a little bit familiar, and then maybe you are remembering it again when you're just waking up, which is what I'm suggesting you do, and before you go to sleep, great times too. Or maybe you are remembering in the middle of something that's already starting to trigger you, and you know, I'm starting to get excited or angry or whatever. So at that point, these practices that I'm going to share with you right now, and we're going to do together, are very effective too. So we'll do it when it's like if we are driving a boat, instead of waiting in the middle of the storm to do it, we first drive it in calm seas, and then we go to use it also when we are in the storm. So in either case, what you are going to be tapping in is the power of a point, the release point probably the most powerful point in our whole body with reference to creating spaces of calm. There is this point, is on the breastbone. So you go along the breastbone and more or less at the height of the nipples, you find an indentation there in your breastbone. And this point is called Sea of Tranquility. I'm not making up the names. This is the name that has within the traditional Chinese medicine understanding and knowing. So this is the Sea of Tranquility. We are going to be using the center of our palms that we all have. They just usually don't teach us about this in school, unfortunately. Not yet, but soon. We'll keep putting the intention in the world. So we use this, the center of our palms, we rub our hands to generate a little bit of circulation and chi. And we are going to bring these sources, vortexes of chi, of vital energy, to that Sea of Tranquility point in a gesture that already brings you in, draws you in, because your hands are not busy with the world. They are just coming to accompany you, to sense your chest, to notice maybe this slight movement of your breath, of your breathing. Just noticing your heart palpitating maybe, or the movement of your breath, or the sensation of having your hands at your Sea of Tranquility point. Being in this present moment, right here, coming back home to our body. To the present moment, which is the only moment we can direct influence. Cannot do anything about the past or the future. Working with moment to moment, we build a better future for us and for others. Just calming down. Okay, then we are going to keep adding other powerful layers to this. So besides sensing this calmness that you're feeling here, now we are going to combine it with a Taoist breathing that's called letting go of the old, taking in the new. So what's going to be happening is that you inhale through the nose, slow, gentle inhale, still with your hands at your Sea of Tranquility point. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, blowing the air out slowly, gently, continuing the long exhales without forcing. Then there is a slight pause at the end of the exhale, and then you inhale in a relaxed way, inhaling softly, gently through the nose, feeling your chest expanding. There is a slight pause at the end of the inhale, and then you start exhaling through the mouth, slow, long, steady exhalation, inviting your body to relax. We're going to do like 10 of this. Inhaling through the nose, pause, exhaling through the mouth, blowing the air gently. The long exhalation triggers your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the one that gives you more of the rest and relaxed response. So what you are doing now is bringing your attention and intention, attention to the breath, to the inhaling through the nose, slowly, gently, fully. Pause at the top, exhaling through the mouth. Long exhale, inviting the body to relax, and also sensing still your hands at your Sea of Tranquility point. Find your own rhythm of navigating these gentle waves of air that's coming in and air that's going out. And you can combine it with every time you exhale, you invite your body to relax and also let go of layers and layers of whatever you want to let go. Maybe physical pain, maybe emotional pain, troubles, just letting go together with air of whatever is burdening you. And with every inhale, renewing yourself with the fresh air, with fresh inspiration. If your mind wanders away, gently bring it back like a puppy. Just sit here just for a moment, just this breath, this inhale, this exhale. And maybe you are still noticing whatever you are processing about something that is giving you grief or fear. It's okay. It comes up in the mirror of your mind, but now you're making more space around it by helping your body to relax as whatever thoughts come up. You're not hijacked by them. You keep breathing. Or grounding the sensations in your body, an invitation to relax. And not fighting whatever arises. Just let it be there. Keep breathing. If you're having physical pain, you could inhale like if the air is going to the part that's feeling the physical pain. And as you exhale, imagine that layers and layers of that pain are being relinquished and let go. You're creating more space around the contraction, either emotional contraction or physical contraction that brings the pain. Let go with exhale. Let go of the old, breathe in new inspiration. And notice if inviting a gentle smile, a Buddha smile, brings any added extra softening to your inner space. Smiling with compassion to yourself and to the situation that you're in. Just two more. And for a moment, linger into the stillness and aliveness of your body. The smile is an indicator of no resistance, and the brain will take that clue. So even if some point is just like a small smile, the brain is very interesting what happens with the lips and with the hands. It has a disproportionate attention to these areas. So if you smile, it goes, oh, we're safe. Let me send you more serotonin. So it's a little bit like the parable in the Bible that the more riches you seem to have, the more are given. And in this case, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about the richness that we have within ourselves, about the possibilities of our inner states. And the more we get fearful and contracted, more negative neuroplasticity, more of the same. The more we can, even just for a moment, touch a little bit of positive neuroplasticity, at that moment the brain is also sending more to contribute to more. So a smile goes a long way. I have heard that even a fake smile triggers relaxation. Another important part is the posture. When we are tired, depressed, our body tends to show our posture, physical posture shows our emotional posture. If we want to change it, and again, trick the brain into sending serotonin and other nice hormones, we start by straightening our posture as much as we can within our possibilities. Notice already the difference if you are this, like this, and if you start straightening your spine and bringing your shoulders to a relaxed position, have like an opening there, how it immediately seems to change how we feel. That's called proprioception. We will talk maybe in some other class about, there are 7 senses, 5 that are looking at the external world, and then 2 that look at the internal world, and those 2 are much more important. And again, there are many studies about that in neuroscience that point to that. So it's important, the posture. And talking about that, let's do some movements. So we are going to first do them sitting, and then we are going to do it standing. And I want to bring contemplative movements from Qigong. One of them is called the wise owl. Let's go of fatigue and ailments. And the movement is like this. The hands are going to come up like this. The arms are relaxed, hands are relaxed. So we bring them up at the same time that we inhale. Then we look to one side, still with the inhale inside, and then we bring the head to the center and we exhale as we lower the hands and allow everything to settle. There are studies also with the vagus nerve that talk about the importance of slowly rotating the head one side and the other, and of course that influences the path of the vagus nerve right here at the back of the neck. So then this following movement is inhaling, looking to the side and a little bit to the back, still with the inhale inside, and then bringing the head to the center and exhale and letting everything settle. It's very simple movement. I like it because to me, it represents what happens with the mind. We are trying to be in the present moment, and the mind goes to the past. And we notice it and we bring it to the present moment. Bring it to the present moment, bringing your head to the center, and then exhale. Allow everything to settle. It doesn't matter how much you can look to the side or the back. It's just like inhale and you look within your range, and whatever your range is perfect. Relaxed way of turning your head, and then coming to the center, coming to the present moment, allowing everything to settle. So to me, arbitrarily, let's say I designate the path to the left. I look at all the things that brought me to this present moment, and then come to the present moment and allow everything to settle, learning without words. Inhale. Look to, let's say, to the right and to the future, concerns about what could happen, expectations, doubts, whatever. Okay, let's come back to the present moment and let's allow everything to settle as we exhale. Isn't it beautiful? It's just so simple and so powerful. And you can do it, for example, in the morning as you're about to come out of bed, or at night. I think it's good to make a little time when we just wake up, not immediately jump out of bed, but we are going to learn different kinds of practices, but this is one that's very nice. In the morning, also maybe looking at yesterday, looking at today, and looking at tomorrow, and looking at today, and always coming back to the present moment, to the body, to the now, which is where we can make all the transformation that we want if we keep bringing our attention and intention within our circumstances, right? Not fighting, but present. And then the other movement, which we're going to do also standing, well, I see it's 2:59. Maybe we just should do one movement. Okay. And the other one is left for next time, so that you come next Saturday and we continue. Okay, let me just show you this movement standing. Maybe tap your legs, tap your thighs. So just assist your body a little bit on the transition from sitting to standing. Okay, so maybe you are finding a place where you can stand. Great. And this movement comes from Qigong. That's like the yoga of China, also very old, like yoga, 3,000 years ago. They had all these intuitions from working with the body. So we stand with the feet shoulder width apart, body straight and relaxed. To feel the body aligned, we imagine the head like a sphere, perfectly balanced on top of the sphere of the chest, and both of them on top of the sphere of the abdomen. And then unbroken column of energy that runs from the very bottom of the last sphere through the center of each of the three spheres. So from the pelvic floor to the top of the head. And that gives us a sense of alignment of the head, the chest, and the abdomen. And then the three spheres resting on the hips, on the legs, and on the feet that are in contact with the floor. To sense more the contact with the floor, let's raise our toes. I'm also raising the fingers so that you can see better, maybe. But you notice that as you raise your toes and you lower them, you feel more the contact with the sole of the feet. You feel more the contact of the sole of the feet with the ground. And also allowing your body to go a little bit forward, backward, and back and sides to come back to relax standing. And then we are going to practice the simple movement of the wise owl. Gets rid of fatigue and ailments. We inhale. And then we look to, let's say, to the left while keeping the air inside. Then we look to the front and we press as we exhale. Complete the movement and then try the other side. Inhale. Look to the right. Come to the looking in the front and then exhale as the hands go down. To add a little bit more of movement, we could inhale and the hands go up, hands and arms go up, and the knees go a little bit down. So inhale, look to the left or the right. I lost track of it. And then exhale and straighten up as the hands go down. Inhale, hands up, knees down, look to the right, look to the center, and then exhale, and at that point the hands go down and the spine straightens up, the knees also straighten up. Let me show it to you from the side. Sorry, look to the front as your hands come down. I was looking at you. But yeah, it's a simple movement. Let's do 3 more of this. 3 meaning to both sides is 1, and then 2, and then 3. Okay. So try it on your own. See if you would remember to practice on your own. So you exhale when you're looking forward and you are letting the hands go down, the spine straightens up, and the knees also become straight. Inhale. Look at the past, that everything that brought you to this moment, and also be thankful for your journey. Look at the future, what you want to become, your better self, your higher self, and come back to the present moment, knowing that it's moment to moment that you are connecting with your inner resources. So these moments are not only to overcome the negative neuroplasticity, but to cultivate positives. You can work with looking at the past and looking at the future in different ways, either looking at the past and some of the troubles, coming to the present and dropping the troubles. Inhaling, looking at the future and looking at some of your concerns, that coming to the present and letting all that rest. Or you can look in gratitude. I know we are doing an extra one. In gratitude for the journey, coming to the present, coalescing all that in the present moment as we exhale and allow everything to settle and integrate itself. Inhaling, looking to the future, discovering all these inner resources, coming to the present moment and working in this present moment, which is the only one that we have. And for a moment, observing how we feel. Let's do just one more and I'll be silent because I feel that I have been intruding in your space. Maybe smile. Dancing. Bringing the feet together, the hands together, like in prayer at the forehead. We give thanks for a blessing in our life, experiencing it, holding to it, having a sense felt of that blessing. And then lowering our hands to our heart, we send a waft of peace and a blessing to someone who we know is struggling right now. Visualizing the person wherever they are, receiving this blessing, just suddenly feeling a little bit better out of nowhere. And we smile and imagine them smiling, knowing that whatever work we do is not only for us, but because we are all interconnected. In very subtle ways, these that you have touched within yourself and are sending, now it's multiplying inside you and touching the person, because as you send it, it multiplies. So that's the beauty of it, of the sharing of merit. That's called in Buddhism. It's knowing that the work we do is not just for ourselves, but because we are always in interconnection and we do the best we can in our journey. So thank you for coming. Hope that some of this resonates and that you practice whatever resonated. Or maybe it reminds you of some other things that you know and that you want to practice. So that's also very valid. Just keep committing and try to see if you can bring it every day, a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the evening. And let's try to see how we can do in this, creating a new habit in 8 weeks by practicing every day, let's say 15 minutes in the morning and 20 at night, or whatever practices you are doing. Maybe some of these will also connect and integrate with what you are doing and bring it to other spaces. So thank you so much for coming.
So, Amelia, thank you. This is such a gift.